Welcome and thank you for standing by. Currently, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the call over to your host for today, Kim Brown.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on Optimize Your Nonprofit with Census Data. My name is Kim Brown, and I'm a training specialist here at the U.S. Census Bureau. I want to thank you for joining us today for its All in the Tools webinar series. This new series was created by the Census Academy team here at the Census Bureau. You can register for any of the workshop webinars by accessing census.gov. We will post the workshops monthly for early registration. Just visit census.gov/academy. Please note the seating is limited, first come, first served basis. We think these hands-on exercise-based workshops will be a valuable opportunity for you to learn from our experts about how to access Census Bureau data tools and references. If you wish to follow along, take a moment now to open an additional browser to participate in today's exercises. Before I introduce today's speakers, let's go over a few important housekeeping rules. As mentioned earlier, this webinar is being recorded. For your convenience, it will be uploaded to our Census Academy site with all supplemental materials relating to the webinar. In terms of how to ask questions during the webinar, you can submit your written questions using the Q&A panel, which is at the bottom center or right side of your WebEx screen. Please take a moment to locate that now. Once you found the Q&A panel, make sure you choose All Panelists from the drop-down menu. This will ensure we see your question. Don't send your question to an individual panelist. Also, we ask that you do not include any personal or business identifiable information with your questions. Now let's talk about the chat panel. Look for that on your screen now. It's probably right next to the Q&A panel. Definitely keep that chat panel open also, because this is where we will provide key links and other resources. Keep in mind, you won't be able to respond to the chat. Chat is just for us to send you links and other resources. In the chat box, we will be sharing throughout the webinar the link for our evaluation. We are very interested in hearing from you on how we are doing. My colleague, Misty Slater and Meredith Maxwell will be monitoring the Q&A panel. As time allows, we will answer your question directly through the Q&A panel, or we will share your question with the presenter to respond to throughout the workshop. If we don't get to all questions with a response during the webinar, we will post the questions and responses with the webinar materials on the census.gov/academy site within 30 business days. Again, as mentioned before, near the end of the webinar, we'll put into the chat a link to our evaluation so you can tell us how we did today. We hope you'll take the time to complete, as we are always looking for ways to improve our training. As you know, we are in a virtual environment, and sometimes technical difficulties might occur. If you're having issues, try a different browser such as Chrome, or consider logging out and coming back into the session. If you are having audio issues, try selecting the computer audio or calling into the webinar via phone. Now I'd like to introduce you to today's speakers, Carol Miller and Ileana Serrano. Thanks again for being here today. Ileana, you may begin.
Thank you, Kim, and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for your time in sitting through this session in regards to optimizing your nonprofit with census data. This is me, an image of me. I'm not on camera, but I am a data dissemination specialist for the Census Bureau, and I will be one of your presenters today. And this is Carol Miller. She is also a data dissemination specialist for the Census Bureau, and she will be walking you through the hands-on portion of this session. So what we aim to share with you today is that in this workshop, you will find out how important the American Community Survey is for nonprofits and the unique ways nonprofits can use census data. We will work through 4 exercises, that's if time permits, so you can navigate data.census.gov to find the data you need to serve your community. Basically, what will be covered today are an understanding, if you will, of the differences between decennial census data and the American Community Survey data. You'll get a very brief overview of census geography to give some context to the data. And with the exercises, you will explore the navigation of the tool data.census.gov. And also to put into practice what you learn, you will work through some challenges, or if you will, some exercises to hone in your skills. Okay, so it all starts here, basically with the decennial census. And what it is that it's a national census done every 10 years, and everybody in the nation gets asked the same questions. It is the only data that you can access at the block level in terms of geography, and we use it for apportioning the congressional representation and also to redistrict or draw these congressional areas. The data that's available from the decennial are your basic demographic data, such as age, sex, relationship, race, ethnicity, so on and so forth. But for the purpose of this session, we are going to be using the American Community Survey data. Now, what is ACS? ACS, or American Community Survey, it is an offshoot of the decennial census since 2005. What comes from the ACS in terms of data is you will also get basic demographic data, such as in the decennial. And this data comes from the 3.5 million addresses that are selected annually. But you also get social characteristics, such as languages spoken at home, disability status, and the type of disability. You also can access housing characteristics, such as mortgage or monthly rent, whether a unit is owner-occupied, or renter-occupied. And also with the economic characteristics, you can access the occupational information, the type of job, and also the industry that one works in. And because this is an annual survey, you get 2 data sets, or there are 2 releases from this survey, the 1-year and the 5-year. The 1-year data that comes out every September is just that. It's 12 months worth of collected data. The difference is that this one is only for geographies or large population groups of 65,000 and over. It is very current because it is released 1 year after we collect the data, but it is less reliable, and it is used mostly for analyzing large populations. Now, the 5-year data set is 60 months worth of collected data that is aggregated and published. It has no geographic restrictions in terms of population, so you get a data set for all places, no matter how small, and it is very reliable. That is, if precision is what you are interested in. It is used for analyzing small population groups, and this is where examining tracts in other small geographic areas is useful because the 1-year estimate is not available. So this is your quick brief overview of census geography. The image that you see on the left-hand side is the hierarchy of the geographies that Census Bureau uses, everything down the axis. In terms of geography, you can access decennial data. It is the only data set that goes down to the block level. However, for ACS, because of disclosure, we do not go down to the block level. We go only up to the block group level. But you can see to the side of the axis all the other available geographies that you can access the American Community Survey data for. On the right-hand side, you see more or less a general geographic build. You have the state with its boundaries, of course, and then that state is broken out into counties, and these counties are broken out into tracts, census tracts, and these tracts are built on collections of block groups, and of course the block groups are a collection of blocks. Okay, so keep that in mind. So in working through the challenges today, we hope that you will get a sense for the variables, the subjects, the topics, the characteristics that you will be searching for. And you will be exploring the varying geographic levels of the data available. So in the challenges today, you're going to look at social characteristics like language diversity. You're going to look at housing characteristics in terms of housing rent information. On the third challenge, you're going to look at a combination of socioeconomic characteristics with disability at its center. And on the fourth challenge, it's an economic characteristic that you're going to be looking for in terms of the occupations and the employment status. In order for you to conquer these challenges, we're going to walk through some of the steps. And the scenario for the first challenge is a nonprofit in Chattanooga, Tennessee was awarded a grant for a new program. It needs to create materials to inform the service area of the benefits and eligibility criteria. So how does the nonprofit assess the languages spoken in their service area to assure, that they have the necessary language resources? Okay. And the challenge is you're going to find the percentages of the languages spoken at home in Chattanooga, Tennessee for the Spanish, Asian, Pacific Islander, and Indo-European population groups. Okay. So as you do these exercises, I will ask that you drop your answers in the Q&A and have your browser open to census.gov. And once you are on the landing page of census.gov, you're going to hover over the Data and Maps tab. And then you're going to click on Explore Data on data.census.gov on the left-hand side. The next step is using the simple search bar. You're going to type in languages spoken at home in Chattanooga, Tennessee. You do have the option, though, of activating the microphone for voice-activated searches. But in this example, we're just going to use a search bar and type in that request. Next screen that should show up will be your search results, if you will, and it will be broken up into 3 panels. On the left-hand side, you will have your filters. Basically, these are your search parameters. This is what you're telling the tool you want to look at. The middle portion of the screen is your table results. All the tables that are associated with your geography and variable and year topic, so on and so forth, will be in this middle panel. And on the right-hand side, you'll have a geographic representation of the area that you're looking for. So in this exercise, you're going to select the first table that you see. Okay, and now you have the table that populated on the right-hand side of your screen. You still have in the middle panel all of your search results, and on the left-hand side, your variables. So for this exercise, to have a better screen view of your table, we're going to minimize our filters panel and our results panel by clicking the double chevrons on each of those sections. Okay, here's your table, full screen view. And in this table, you will find the answer to your challenge. Okay, the percentages of languages spoken at home in Chattanooga, Tennessee, for those 3 particular population groups. So now you're going to have 3 minutes to work through the challenge. And at the end of 3 minutes, Carol will walk you through how we got this path together. And if you would, please drop your answers in the Q&A. Carol, you want to start the timer?
Timer's going. We'll meet back at 2:21. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and walk you through. Starting our exercise, we're going to start at census.gov homepage. Hover over data and maps and click on our data.census.gov tool. Then here in our search window, our search bar, we're simply going to type in languages spoken at home in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And it forgives misspellings, which is a really nice thing. You can see here our filters say languages spoken at home, Chattanooga, Tennessee. In the center are our table options, and the right is a map and some profile options. We're going to choose table S1601, languages spoken at home. Here's the full table view. We're going to eliminate these or hide these columns on the right, whichever, the other right, the left. And we can always bring them back with these little icons on the side if we want to go back and refilter something. But here you can see our percentage of Spanish speakers are 7.1. Our percentage of Indo-European language speakers is 0.9%. And Asian Pacific Islander speakers are 1.5%. So, moderators, do we have any questions for the group in our Q&A?
I don't see any current questions, mostly answers.
Okay. Great. All right. That was a pretty simple exercise. So just for your information, when we click back here at the census logo.
Sorry, there was a quick question that just popped up if you want, but they wanted to know if you can explain the columns to the right.
We have the total population, the percentage of population, and then these other columns here on the right-hand side of our table would be the degree of proficiency. Speak very well, less than very well. You know, can we conduct a conversation in English? A little bit, not so much. But in my home, this is what I speak, so.
And there's one follow-up question just regarding this exercise. They wanted a brief explanation on why the 1 year versus the 5 year estimates for this exercise.
Most current information. People move around a lot. So for this particular exercise, we wanted to know pretty much the languages spoken in this area at this time. Okay, as we go along with our exercises, we'll see how the 1 year and the 5 year are more relevant to our searches. Okay.
I have one quick question. Can you
Mhm.
explain the columns to the right? I'm guessing that would be percent of the percent. That would have to be
Yeah,
it.
this is the level of proficiency. How comfortable are you carrying a conversation in English? Less than very well, or less than very well. I may speak Spanish in my home, but when I'm at school, at work, I can speak English very well. Or when I'm in the general public, maybe I don't speak English very well. Level of proficiency. Okay, and as I was saying, this upper left-hand Census Bureau logo, you can just click on that and all your searches are cleared off. Okay, so we're going to move around to our next exercise. How did you do?
Okay, so for our next challenge, scenario 2 is several nonprofits in the state of Mississippi provide housing assistance in terms of rental subsidies. So how do these nonprofits determine at the county, then the tract level, if there is a need for these subsidies? Okay, so the challenge is okay, you are going to find the 2 counties in Mississippi where the median gross rent as a percentage of household income exceeds 40%. And then part 2 of it is focusing on the highest measured county where the median gross rent as a percentage of household income exceeds 40%. You're going to identify the tracts where the residents spend over 40% of their income on housing. Okay, so what we're going to do is this time around, we're going to use the advanced search. You're going to click on that, and then in your filters, you're going to select your geography. And for the first part of the exercise, you're going to select county. It will ask you what state these counties reside, and you're going to select Mississippi. And once you open up the list, you're going to check off all the counties within Mississippi. Okay, then you're going to go over to your filters and select topics. You're going to open the housing folder. And from there, you're going to open the financial characteristics folder. And lastly, you're going to check off the renter costs. Okay, so when you get to the screen, you're going to get a lot of tables in the middle section, and you're probably going to have to scroll through to find what we're looking for. And that is your median gross rent as a percentage of household income, which will probably be on page 2. Okay, make sure that up at the top that you are at your that you're looking at tables. Okay, not maps, not pages, but that you're looking at tables. Okay, so once you have that table selected, it defaults to the 1-year estimate. So you're going to go over to the right-hand side of the table underneath the table ID and title, click on the down arrow and select your 5-year estimate. Right? Once you do that, it will reset your results. And to get a better working view of the table, you're going to deactivate the margin of error action item. And then thirdly, you're going to then activate your transposition icon. Basically, what you're going to do is change the view, the direction that you're viewing the table from a vertical to a horizontal. From a vertical rather than a horizontal view. So you'll be getting an up and down view of the table. Okay, so once you're in this view position of the table, certainly you can scroll up and down and look at all the county measurements. You're going to be scrolling through about 80 some odd counties, but to help you expedite that search, you can use the tool's mapping feature. And that is on the far right-hand side where it's got more tools. Sometimes it'll have your little map icon. Click on that and you will get a representation of a populated county map of Mississippi. And what we're going to do, because right now it will display 5 different classes, we're going to narrow it down to 3 classes, your upper, your middle, and your lower. And you click on the classes action item. And it will open up a choropleth for you. And in this section, you can change the color and so on and so forth. But for our exercise, we are going to change the classes. It defaults to 5 classes. We're going to go to 3. And you do this using the left arrow and you change it from 5 to 3. On the right-hand side, you're going to click the X so that you can close out the choropleth. And you will see your map redraw in terms of coloration. And you will also notice that the legend will change from 5 classes to 3 classes. Okay, in this map, what you're going to do is you're going to click through the high colored, the dark blue colors, and you're going to find the 2 counties that are 40 plus, okay, so that we can go to part 2 of this exercise. And then to get back to your table, you're going to click the table action item, and then on the right side, click View Full Table, and it will take you back to the table that we were working with. But at this point, you are going to stay on the table, but you're going to go over to your filters, and now we're going to go from county geography to tract geography. And so what you're going to do is on your filters, you're going to remove your all counties within Mississippi by clicking on the X in that bar, okay? You'll retain your topics, the characteristics, the housing characteristics on renter costs. Then you're going to highlight your geography filter. You're going to select tract. It'll ask you what counties. You're going to select Jefferson Davis County, Mississippi. Open that folder. It's going to list out all the tracts in JD County. And instead of clicking each individual tract, which you can if you want to drill down specifically, but for this exercise, we are going to check off the first item, which is all census tracts within Jefferson Davis County, Mississippi. Once you're there, on the right-hand side, you're going to get your tables. You're going to scroll through again and find the table that we were working with previously, the one that gives you the median gross income, okay? And that was 25B 25071. Once you have your table selected, you notice that it still retained the 5-year estimate version that we were working with. You're going to transpose your columns. And again, you can scroll through and find your answers because there are only about 5 counties here, and find your answer. But if you wanted to visualize it and make it easier, you can click on your map icon and it will redraw your map to focus on the 3, the tracts within that county that fall into that criteria that you're looking for. So at this time, Carol's going to take it.
All right, so your challenge is today, work through the exercise. We'll give you about 10 minutes to do this because it is a little more involved. So the timer will start and I'll give you about a 5-minute warning. Okay, we're going to go ahead and I'll walk you through how to meet this challenge. All right. So again, we're going to start at the census.gov landing page. And this time, instead of typing in anything here, we're going to go to use the advanced search. We're going to start in our filters column. And Click geography. We want to know the counties in Mississippi that spend the most of their income on rent. So all the counties. And because we're talking about rent, it's under the housing topic, financial characteristics, and renter costs. Go ahead and click the search in the bottom right-hand corner. And here's our list of table results. We're going to scroll. Let's see, let me click on tables here at the top and get, what I want is median. To find the median gross rent as a percentage of household income in the past 12 months, my B25071. I notice that it's only 1 year ACS data, and the list of counties start at DeSoto with the D. Well, I know there are counties in Alabama and Mississippi that start with A's and B's and C's. So I need to change this because these are populations of 65,000 or more in our 1 year ACS data. So I'm going to change it now to 5 year data, where I have Adams County and Elkhorn County and all 82 counties in Mississippi. I'm going to get my table a little bit bigger here. Oh, I'm going to wait just a second here. I'm going to take out the margin of error so I don't have so many columns. And I'm going to transpose the rows and columns so I have a long list rather than a wide list. And that's a lot of counties to scroll through. So I'm just going to choose to map that information. Still have my B25071 ACS 5-year data. I don't need this filter and results columns anymore. I'm going to minimize those columns. And now I see I have some highlighted, but I mean, which is really darker. So I'm going to choose to really make my map pop out a little bit, and I'm going to minimize the number of colors or classes on the map. I'm going to take it down to 3, where now I can really see the counties that spend the most amount of their income on rent. And if I just click on those counties, I'm going to see, oh, Jefferson Davis is over 40%, 43.7. What about this dark colored one here? That's only 38. What about that one? 36. Oh, here's another one, and I can't pronounce that name. Octobeha County is over 40% of their income spent on rent. Okay, so I've got my 2 counties. I've got Jefferson Davis here at 43.7% of the population spend over 40% of their income on rent. So if I have a nonprofit specializing in rent subsidies, I may need to target Jefferson Davis County. It is the county with the highest percentage of people. The second highest, if I have additional resources, I can pinpoint this county. Okay, so now I want to find tracts in Jefferson Davis County that I can really narrow my search for who needs most assistance. So I'm going to go back to the table view, and I want to see the full table And this happened to me before. I don't know why it does this, but it goes back. So I'm going to have to scroll down and find the table that I was looking for before is a B25071. Okay. And we also reverted back to ACS 1-year data. So I'm going to go ahead and get that 5-year again. Now I want to find out tracked information. So I'm going to click on my filters column and open that up again. There's little icons on the very left-hand side here. And instead of the counties in all counties in Mississippi, I want tracts in Jefferson Davis County. And again, it went back to the first of the list of my results. So we're going to have to do some finagling here when I get my geography set. So I want tract information. I want the state of Mississippi. And I want Jefferson Davis County because I know they have the highest percentage. And I'm not sure which tract, so I'm just going to select all of them.
Carol,
Yes.
go back to the counties because you selected Jefferson County instead of Jefferson Davis County.
Oh, my bad.
It gets confusing.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Jefferson Davis County. So I have all tracts within Jefferson Davis County, not Jefferson County. These little X's come in so handy. Jefferson Davis County. Okay. Close that search. And again, I have to scroll down and get to my table again. And I can eliminate the margins of error. And scrolling across, I don't know how many there are, so I'm just going to turn it on its side. Now there's four tracks I can see. And because there's only 4 tracks, it's kind of easy to see which tracks are the highest percentage of people that spend over 40% of their income on rent. But if I map it, I've got the terrain. I know where those tracks are. I can target that particular area. Okay. So, how'd you do? Moderators, are there any questions in Q&A that will benefit the group?
I have one just asking, is it possible to sort column after you transpose it to show counties that have the highest percentage?
You can download it to an Excel sheet and sort it that way, but on the table itself, no. In the action ribbon at the top, there's you can download all these tables. Okay. All right.
Oh, wait a minute.
So-
I think I have one more quick one. Can you sort the median gross rent as a percentage column? For example, it's a small number, but if they were a longer list of counties?
The tables themselves don't sort themselves. That's why I say you can download them to an Excel or CSV file, and then do all kinds of sorting and you know that is required for your particular application. Okay.
So Ileana and Carol, an interesting question that I noticed is someone asked if there was tenure data for ACS, and I helped the team respond by saying they could use 2 ACS 5-year files as long as the years didn't overlap. Would that be a correct answer?
Can you repeat the
Absolutely.
question?
If you wanted to see 10 years worth of data.
Oh, 10 years. I heard tenure. Okay, yes.
Yeah, so, and we do caution very specifically, don't mix up your years. For example, if you're doing 2017 to 2021, don't go backwards and go 2016 to 2020, because now you've got a couple of years that are the same. So what you want is what would that be? 2012 through 2016 plus 2017 to 2021. Okay.
Thank you, Carol.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. On to the next challenge.
Okay, so this one is a little bit more involved, but it will bring in the applications and the methods that you use in the previous challenges. A nonprofit in Portland, Oregon, in the Portland, Oregon area, would like to assist persons with a disability gain access to employment. So how can this nonprofit locate and target the community where their limited funding can help the most people? Your charge is to list the 6 tracts in the Portland, Oregon metropolitan area where the highest number of persons with disabilities reside. Okay, so we'll walk through the process. You're going to go to your clear all your filters from the previous exercises, okay? Or you can click on the census icon to get right to the beginning of the tool. You're going to use the advanced search, and a cautionary note, the microphone can be used, but on complex data searches, it may prove a little challenging. So if it's very simple, one geography, one variable, it will work. But when you're giving it too many, it may not work, properly for you. So use the advanced search option to locate your filters. Okay, so we're going to start on the left with your geography. You're going to select census tracts. Okay, we'll ask you what state and so on. So you walk through those options. And before anything else, once you do the census tract selection, you're going to go all the way up to the top and click on that circle with the plus and open it up, because it will give you 2 options to select from. And because we're working in the micropolitan statistical area, we want to make that selection. So you click on the box that has metro micro statistical area. And then where the magnifying glass is at in your next selection, you're going to simply type in Portland. Okay, and this is to minimize your searches, your categories. And then you're going to select all tracts that are fully or partially within Portland, Vancouver, Beaverton, Oregon, Washington, the metro area. And in metropolitan areas, we know that it can contain many counties in different states. So we need to keep that in mind when we're working with metro areas. Okay, so once you have your geography set, you're going to navigate over to your topics variable, and the steps here illustrated. The first steps are in red, the second steps are in blue. So firstly, open your topics, open your employment folder, and check off the employment and labor force status. And then you're going to come back and open up the health folder, and then check off the disability option. And then you're going to click search on the bottom right-hand corner. All right. So the table that we're looking for is C18120, which is employment status by disability status. But you're going to get a screen like this that probably will cause you to panic and say, what did I do? I broke the tool. I did something wrong. If you followed those steps, you didn't do anything wrong. It's just simply telling you that the data that you have selected and the parameters are too large to display. So you're going to go down to that tiny little blue open the table link and click on that to open your table. Right? So now you have your geography at the track level. And so what we want to do is click your map icon so you can visualize this. And right underneath the table title, you're going to see a down arrow on the, I should say, the actionable item called variables. You're going to click on that and then use the down arrow to select your line item from table C18120. And what we're looking for in that table is those in the labor force that are unemployed with a disability. Okay, and there's the line item. You select that, your map will redraw. Okay, now you have your map at the track level, and you can see that there are those blue dense tracks are all over the place. So what you want to do is, again, change your classes, because right now it's saying that we have 6, but you can change your classes to 3 to help you visualize it better. And then you're going to hover over those blue tracks and zoom in, if you will, to identify the track numbers. Okay, and there are 6 of them that are highlighted there, but after you zoom in and when you change the class to 3, it makes it a little easier to read. So list the 6 tracks in the Portland, Oregon area, metro area, I should say, where the highest number of persons with disabilities reside. So you have 10 minutes to conquer this challenge. Carol?
We'll meet back at about 11 minutes after the hour, and I have to apologize for leaving out in the challenge lists the 6 tracks in the Portland, Oregon metropolitan area where the highest number of unemployed persons with disabilities reside. So we want their employment status as well as their ability. Again, we're going to go and clear our filters by using the census logo at the top left-hand corner. And we're going to use our advanced search, set our geographies for the tract level within the metropolitan, micropolitan statistical area. And as you noticed, when you clicked that option, we have all the metro micro areas in the entire United States. So we can just type in Portland. And we don't want Portland, Maine. We're going to select Portland, Oregon, Washington. And I want all the tracks within that metropolitan area. What kind of information do I want for that geography? Under the topics, I'm going to click on employment. I want to know who is looking for a job. I also want to know, under the topics, the health status, whether these individuals are unemployed with a disability. Click my search in the lower right-hand corner. And the table I find is employment status by disability status, C18120. There's a lot of information on here. So, okay, I get it. I'm going to open it anyway. But I want to know where I can focus my limited funds from my nonprofit to help those people in the tracks of this very large metropolitan area. So I'm going to map it. But it doesn't know what I want to map. So I am going to select variables, perhaps. Something went awry. I've had a lot of things happen strangely the last couple days, so this doesn't surprise me very much. Okay, we're just going to clear our filters and go over it again real quick. Advanced, geography, tracks, within our metropolitan area of Portland. I apologize. I want to know about employment, those in the labor force.
Carol, I think you need to back up to your geography and select
I
those
did
tracks.
again.
It didn't take.
There we go.
Okay, now we go.
Yes. And again, in those with a disability. So now I have in the labor force with a disability in all census tracts within that metropolitan area. There's my table. I'm going to open it up. And once again, I'm going to try and map this. Yay! It worked.
It worked.
Okay, but it's all gray. It doesn't know what I want to map. So I'm going to select the variables and let it know I want those people in the labor force that are unemployed with a disability. You can see I've got Clark County, Washington, Washington County, Multnomah County, Yamhill County. So I'm going to get rid of these columns. I'm going to hide those columns so I can see better. And going from this big map, it's hard to tell which are darker than the others. So I'm going to check on those classes and take the number of colors from 5 down to 3. And now I can see very clearly where those counties in the darkest shades are. Use my mouse and scroll in farther, and I can see Census Tract 407.14 in Clark County, Washington. I can see Multnomah County has 3 tracts, and Washington County, Oregon has 2 tracts that are more densely populated, where my nonprofit dollars might be better used. Okay. So, forgot to change that one too. Moderators, any quick questions?
We have one general question. We want to know if the order of the filters matter when you're generating your search criteria.
It could. If you, I've run into situations where sometimes I'll ask for, if you notice on the filters, we have years. Sometimes I want the most current information, so I'll ask for 2021 data. Okay, that could be 1 year data, 2021, or it could be 5 year data, 2017 to 2021. But I want the most current stuff, okay, available. Well, if my other filters are for populations, say, of less than 65,000, maybe there isn't any 1 year data for 2021. So it might not give me that information. So you can play with all of these. Maybe I want, in my surveys, maybe I click on American, or I'll click on decennial survey, and I'll want income information. Well, decennial census doesn't offer income information. So that might be a problem. Sometimes, yeah, so you can play around with it a little bit. You saw, how I had to go back and back a little bit as well. So, yeah, good question. Anything else?
Just a clarifying question. When you were on the map function, I guess you mentioned that there were 2 tracks that can be used, and they just wanted some clarification.
2 tracks.
I guess when you filter down to the identifiable tracks, you said that there were 2 tracks that can be used.
Okay, well, there was one here in the state of Washington, in Clark County. And then I said there were 3 in Multnomah County, Oregon. And then there were 2 more tracks in Washington County, Oregon, where my nonprofit dollars would be most beneficial. So I think that's what I meant.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, very good. Okay, and I'm just going to clear this. We're running short on time, so I don't think that we'll be able to finish our last challenge. But if you'd like to write that down, the slides will be available within the next 30 days, so you can work through those on your own time. And the slide deck will, of course, give you the how-tos explained in that way. All right. Those are the answers. Don't look, don't cheat. Eliana, would you like to conclude?
Okay, so Some of those exercises were a little challenging, and some of you managed to hit the marker, and some of you got a little lost, but that's okay. The tool is meant to be used and explored. So a recap for today is we went through the differences between 2020 data and ACS, or American Community Survey. What you can get from decennial data, what you can get, or what is available from the American Community Survey. Important point to keep in, the 1 year and the 5 year estimates. Those are the ones that trip people up all the time, so definitely pay attention when you use the tables. And in the challenges, we looked at characteristics from the socioeconomic. You've got disability, you got occupation, you also had housing characteristics and the renter subsidies, and then also languages spoken at home. So quite a lot of information covered, but we also want to let you know about our resources where you can go. Census.gov is your source of all information on census data, census programs, census tools, and also assistance, our support, what we have put in place to support you, our data user. And so if you want to request a training or assistance, please go to Census Academy, and Ask Data will also get you answers to your questions, and definitely let us know how we can help you. Any closing questions? Okay, we do have a lot of how-to short videos on Census Academy. They're called Little Data Gems. In fact, I think we put up a couple that in the prerequisites that if you had watched those, you would have no difficulty interacting with the tool as we were illustrating the exercises, but not to worry. You have the how-tos, you have the step-by-step instructions, you have the recording, and you will have a transcript all posted on the site so you can revisit all of these exercises. And if you need to ask questions or contact us, please feel free to go to Census Ask Data at census.gov, census.gov, or you can contact Carol and I with questions on this session. Okay, Kim, back to you.
Thank you, Ileana. Thank you so much, Carol. Appreciate what you shared with us today. Thank you very much for this excellent webinar. Before we conclude, I'd like to thank everyone who played a role in today's webinar. And also, of course, thank you to you, our audience, for spending your time with us this afternoon. Please take a moment to fill out the evaluation by following the link provided in the chat. Look out for the recording and the PowerPoint along with the Q&A from this workshop on the Census Academy by visiting census.gov/academy. We will post these within 30 business days. That brings us to a close, so we thank you again and hope you have a great afternoon.
This concludes today's webinar. Thank you for your participation. You may disconnect at this time.